What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Burning Questions podcast here on Fantasy Football Scout, the show where both myself and Andy hope to answer all of those hot questions in the land of FPL. This week we've got something a little bit different just because we're mid-game week and the next round of Premier League is not for another 2 weeks. So we're going to do it a little bit more like a Q&A. We'll have a little talk about a few things, but that shouldn't take us massively long to get through. And then as we go, we'll be answering pretty much all the questions that we see, or as many of the questions that we see in the chat. But Andy, good to have you back with me. How are we? How has the new year started for you?
Good, my friend. Actually, I hopped off a flight a couple hours ago, drove all the way here to the, semi-studio, whatever this is right now, and here we are. As you mentioned, it's let's call it Burning Questions After Hours. Little bit of a unique situation where the game week's still going on, and it's going to be a challenge to stop us from saying wait till next week as many times as possible this game week because there's still FA Cup in play. There's so much that's going to happen. So essentially, it's the same thing as we were going to say from last week, but I thought it'd be good to just catch up and talk to the chat mostly today.
Cool. Yeah. So chat, say hello if you're in. Nice to see some of you in today and start getting some general questions about your team or some, hot topics that you want us to cover throughout the stream. And we will make sure that we do those. It is mid-game week, but we'll have a look at our scores so far. So I'm on 27. I will get 2 points off my bench for Phil Foden, who was my transfer in this week for Son in place of Salah. I then have Dominic Solanke. I then have Captain Saka, Gabriel, and Areola to go. Yours is looking very similar, although you have a double Arsenal where I had Trippier this week. Unfortunately, I didn't have much choice but to play Kieran Trippier this week. I wanted the information. I wanted the second free transfer, so I decided to roll my second one rather than selling him. So I mean, small red arrows for both of us, but you've got Pedro Porro to come off the bench as well. So if Arsenal keep a clean sheet, you should be looking quite nice this week.
Whoa. Maybe Trent comes off the injury and gives me a 12-pointer. You never know, right? But now that
that's
Porro's
not
on
going
the
to
bench
happen.
with a six, it's not going to happen. I also don't want it to happen because just in case Porro doesn't come off the bench. But yeah, we snuck in a Trent start there. Good to see you, FPL fellow, by the way. Yeah, let's see how the double Arsenal clean sheet goes because I've been moaning about it for a while. But let's see.
How are you feeling
By the way,
about...
how's your New Year been? I forgot to ask you.
Yeah, my New Year's been fine, thank you. With the distinct lack of FPL, I've had a lot of time on my hands. So yeah, no, it's been good. I'm quite looking forward to actually when February comes and I've got more to do with myself because at the moment, like a lot of you, it's like waiting for the next game week, waiting. Like I'm spending a lot of time, thinking about my team. But right now, I could do with a little bit more football. Although Chelsea are looking quite good, we're climbing the table.
Yeah.
We're above Newcastle, so
Mhm.
and we're climbing into those European places. You wait.
Sounds very hopeful. No, because before the stream started, we were talking chat, and I asked Harry like, he's full time now. So what do you do on weeks like this? What do you do in the summer? And he was just saying, quality over quantity mostly.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
Got exciting. I recorded a bit of content with something a little bit different yesterday evening, which will be out tomorrow. Something a little bit different, which I haven't really done before, which will be nice, but no spoilers of what that's going to be. You'll all have to wait and see.
Nice.
But yeah, nice to see you all in. Yeah, how are you feeling on Saka captaincy? Nice to I just see those pictures of that Arsenal squad away in their summer training and think, oh, they're going to come back with a point to prove. It feels like a little bit.
You know what? I think it was really difficult to decide between Saka and Palmer and maybe a few other outside shouts here and there, but ultimately for me it came down to Saka and Palmer as we spoke about last week. And one thing that you put into my mind from the pod was I don't want to sit on a Palmer blank for 2 game weeks. So I mean, full transparency, that's what it came down to. I just thought, all right, let's just hope Palmer blanks and then we'll get into the Saka have some hope going into that Saka fixture. But looking back on it, there's no hindsight regret. But Palmer is the fact that he's on penalties. I have a question for you. How do teams even decide who the penalty taker is? There must be multiple like really good penalty takers, you know? Like how
Yeah.
did Palmer walk into this team from Man City where he wasn't even starting and suddenly he's the go-to penalty taker, right? Like it's perplexing, I feel.
Mm. I mean, I imagine they start taking them behind the scenes, and if he starts converting well, there was one then early on in the season where Enzo Fernandez took it and missed it, and then there was another one I think 2 games later where Enzo then wasn't on the pitch, and Palmer took it, presumably because he'd done well in training, and I actually think Sterling also wasn't on the pitch for that one, and then he took it, scored it, and then has just been given the confidence to take them from there, and has done really well. But I know what you mean. To come into a team at his age and 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months later, be nailed to take penalties every week is a credit to him that he's managed to do it. And he looks so composed from the spot now. He looks like he's got it all.
Yeah, I almost want to ask someone inside the Premier League for a
Mm,
team how they make that decisions. Probably has nothing to do with FPL, but I
yeah.
was genuinely curious about it. And I was listening to the above average that you did yesterday. Shout out Baker and Adam. Great pod. And you made a very good point about Sterling being the highest like penalty getter, right?
Yeah.
So the combination of success for Palmer to get a penalty here and there is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely there. I thought that was a
Mm.
very good point you made.
To be fair, I can't take credit for it. I saw it on Twitter about 2 hours before I went live. But yeah, Sterling has won more Premier League penalties than any other player ever.
Mhm.
And it's like, I
Interesting.
think he's topped this season already as well. I think he's already won 3 or 4 this season. So Palmer, yeah, comment in the chat. Palmer fought Sterling in the Arsenal game on who will take the pen, then the rest is history. Yeah. So yeah, the first one was
Nice.
Enzo, and then Enzo wasn't on the pitch, and there was a little bit of debate about who's going to take it. And I mean, how he pulled rank over Sterling in a game like that, I don't quite know. But yeah, yes. Oh, Fernandez told Sterling to give it to Palmer. There you go. I can't quite remember, but yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then the rest is history. Look at him go. Look at him
Yeah.
go.
Cold Palmer.
What a guy. Cool. A few questions coming in, which we'll get to in just a moment. Before we do that, because I know one of the questions we're going to talk about quite a lot is Salah, particularly when we expect him back. And I suppose just to cover that off, this is a graphic from Rob T FPL. There was one which had a little bit more detail on, and I spoke to him and was like, I'm going to try and use this in all my pods this week. So is there any chance you could simplify it? And he very kindly did. So this is what we came out with. So what you've got, particularly looking at the Egypt row, is the percentage chance that Egypt get to each of these rounds. So they have an 87% chance of getting to round of 16. They have a 61% of getting to the quarterfinals. They have a 35% of getting to the semi-finals, and then 18% of getting to the final. What this means is where it says likely unavailable at the bottom. So if they reach that round of 16 where they have an 87%, he's going to be unavailable pretty much in game week 22. If he reaches the quarterfinals, he's going to be unavailable in game week 23. And if they reach the semi-finals or the finals, because they have a third place playoff in that tournament, he will be unavailable in game week 24. But what I think is interesting, and the only real number I take away from this, is the 35% chance of being unavailable in game week 24. So that gives them a 65% chance of being back for Burnley at home in game week 24, which is only like 2 game weeks away now. So it feels like if you sold him going into game week 21, you'll probably get some decent points between game week 21 and maybe game week 24. But if you didn't sell him now, it's probably a hold, especially, let's have a look at the result against Ghana on Thursday evening, which could tell us a little bit more about how long he's likely to be in that tournament.
Yeah, so a couple of really good questions. Is the top two from each group that goes through? Yes, but also the I think the three
Four
some of
of
the
four
four of
third
the
place teams out of 6.
yeah, which is why Egypt has a good chance. And
Mm.
this odds factors in the first draw, or it doesn't, Harry?
Yes, it does.
It does. Okay. So they play Ghana tomorrow and then Cape Verde. And Cape Verde did win the first match against Ghana. So, they might have a team out there, but it's not looking like they're going to get eliminated. I think for sure they get through the knockout stages or the group
Yeah.
stages.
I suppose
Yeah, the issue with. Mhm.
the thing is, it's not necessarily about them getting through the groups, but it's where they finish in the group. So people are like, oh well,
Mhm.
they'll qualify even if they finish third, and it's like, well, yes, they do qualify if. Did my camera just switch off?
Yeah,
But it came back.
I came back.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, fantastic. My camera's playing up this week. So it's not necessarily about whether he qualifies for the round of 16, it's where they finish in the group. Because in theory, if they finish third, if let's say they finish third, like let's say they lost to Ghana tonight, right? And then they finish
Mhm.
third in the group, they play a group winner in round of 16. And it's like, I think it might be Senegal who they're most likely to play in the round of 16. So it's not
Okay.
about whether they qualify, but it's where they finish in the group. Because if they finish top of the group, then they play someone like a third place team in the round of 16. So the chance of them progressing even further goes up. But if they finish third and they play Senegal, chances are they get knocked out in the round of 16, which would bring them back for game week 23 at the very latest. So, that group is developing quite quickly because Ghana need results, Egypt
Mm.
need results, and the two, I suppose, teams that maybe people didn't expect to qualify have suddenly got points.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Senegal, Mane, Koulibaly, Mendy, they've got a
Mm,
team, right? But you never know in knockout tournaments. So,
mm. Yeah.
but it's tough. I think that as you mentioned, the one that you're interested in is do they come back before the final and the semifinals, which is game week 24.
Mm,
But it's not a simple 1+1 = 2, right? Because you say 2 game weeks. I guess we have squad depth to get away with it, but you are also leaving 13 million on the bench for the next 2 game weeks. So
yeah.
it's a dilemma, right? Like,
Yeah, it's a dilemma, but the only thing with that
Mhm.
is there aren't necessarily, apart from De Bruyne, who we can talk about, I'd either leave a 13 million asset on the bench or I'd leave 8 million in the bank. Like that
Mhm.
money's not going to go somewhere. So yes, I'm going to bench him, but it's for me it's not like a massive issue because I don't want to spend that money on something else, and I have a pretty
Yeah,
decent front eight including Salah. So like if I don't play him, like my team around him's fine. Like Gordon effectively
I
is
agree.
my eighth attacker at the moment. So for Gordon
Mhm.
to be my eighth attacker, like I'm quite happy for you know it not to be that clear about whether Salah's going to play because I've got a pretty decent sub for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I agree. Even with Salah on my team, I have a benching dilemma next week. So you are right.
Mm,
The play is to hold on to him because it might prove advantageous when all of a sudden Haaland returns. All of a sudden, some people are considering KDB. Sun might return soon. Like there's a lot of play, right?
yeah.
Maybe they play in 26 at Spurs. So
Mm. The
yeah,
the other thing
we'll see.
to the other thing to mention is that the round of 16 is before the game week 22 deadline. Pretty much apart, and there's like one which is the
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday evening. So we'll not only know where they finish in the group, but we'll know who they're likely to play. Well, we'll know if they're through the round of 16 as well, and we'll know if they do get through the round of 16 who they're likely to play in the quarterfinals as well. So if we get to the game week 16 deadline, a game week 22 deadline, and they're through the round of 16, they have someone that's more straightforward in the quarterfinals, which looks like he's going to get all the way to the semis and then the final as well potentially, but to the semis. Then we might consider selling Salah if we think he's going to go that far in the tournament. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's been said, it will be said again, but there's so much to learn between now and the game week 22 deadline.
nice. There's a let me see where the questions were.
There's lots of
Uh,
questions
you,
about
uh-huh.
what Sinsa House is.
Yeah, so I do two things. Getting very personal here.
You don't have to
But
answer it.
No. I mean, I'd love to. I think the reason I travel a lot is because I'm involved in manufacturing, actually. I won't say what product, but we basically run manufacturing and manufacture product for a lot of big brands out there, global brands out there. And then in Korea, this is like a cultural center, is the way I put it, Shinsa House. So we do exhibitions, events. You can kind of imagine it as like we're trying to create a Soho House in Seoul, but not private membership and hotel stays. So it's really, really complicated, but a lot of art involved. We have an Instagram called @Shinsa House. If you have the time, please do give it a follow. That's the only thing I'll push personally, kind of like my babies, such as your YouTube channel, Harry. So I've seen a couple of FPL friends follow here and there. I think you're following it too, Harry. So
Yeah,
I
I followed
appreciate
it the
that.
other day. Yeah. We had a
Appreciate it. But
conversation the first time you had it behind you, and then I followed it.
yeah, so this is, the space is going to undergo a big change, like renovation wise.
Mm.
So right now, this is like a semi-built office. So a lot of cool things happening in 2024, and we're trying to bring in a lot of international artists to showcase their stuff out here. Also present Korean artists to the world. So it's a process. It's only been a year and a half, but we've done a lot of really cool projects, and I've worked with Mary Claire Korea quite a bit. Yeah, really cool stuff. But
Nice.
on the Instagram, you can see everything. Yeah,
Nice.
got a little in depth there, but let's get back to FPL. Shout out Will. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for the hello. There
There's
was
some.
two really good
Yeah, go
questions.
for it.
Sorry.
No, you go.
Eddie KC says, "Who's the best City player other than Haaland for the double?" And
Yeah.
then Alex Mika was mentioning Bernardo Silva. I can't find the comment. I
Yeah,
think I'm friends with Alex on
there's
Twitter, but
there's talk
Mhm.
about, like, I think we should, Man City, what we expect from them, De Bruyne, Foden, Bernardo Silva, like what this means going forward. Like 500,000 people have already bought De Bruyne this week, so that is a little bit of a concern for us who don't have him. Like, that's massive transfers in. What is going on with my camera? Just died again and then came back. Fantastic. I'll fix it after.
uh,
Yeah. Have you considered buying De Bruyne this week?
it's hard to ignore, right? Like, I think we shouldn't just say the what everyone else is going to say, Harry. I think we should try to argue for why you might want to bring him in, because the
Yeah.
sensible answer is what probably you and I, as the style of managers that we are, probably won't bring him in, right? Because yes, he came off the bench and he had a marvelous performance. I mean, literally the best player on the pitch, right?
Mm.
But again, his minutes are going to be restricted. They still are in all four cups, I believe. Maybe all three cups,
Yeah. No, they're not
right?
in the
Three.
Carabao Cup. They're in
They're not
Champions
in the
League
Carabao
and
anymore.
FA Cup.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is what really matters. And you're definitely going to see rotation. I mean, now there's Foden, Grealish, Haaland might be back soon. Silva, Rodri, like, I mean, they don't matter, but Foden,
Yeah.
Doku, um, you would assume he's going to start every important game, which is great. But when that happens, we don't know exactly when. So I think the wait and watch is the sensible answer, but there's definitely points to be had. And I'm also trying to break that thought process of like thinking we shouldn't bring him in, because there's certainly reasons to bring him in as well. But I mean, what do you say? Like, how would you argue for him, Harry?
Yeah. I suppose we'll cover this in a moment. But the other question was, if we're not doing De Bruyne, but does it impact our thoughts on Foden as well? Which is, I think, quite an interesting way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am still in the camp of I'm not certain of De Bruyne, but there are definitely positives of it. When he starts, he is better than every other Man City player, barring Erling Haaland. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I was on a free hit any given week, De Bruyne would be in it over Foden, over Bernardo Silva. So if you're chasing a particular week, or you think he's going to start 3 and 4 even, like, any given week, I expect him to be the best option, and he is bad in theory for some of the others, like Foden, like Bernardo Silva, potentially, when he does play. Of course, I'm not certain about his minutes yet, but when he does play, he's better than all the rest of them by like a reasonable, and we saw that. And when he came on, Foden went out wide. Bernardo came off, but Bernardo was on a yellow card, so maybe that impacted on that. So there was, a lot of factors that changed when De Bruyne came on, particularly that Foden going wide, which it's not a worry, but it's not a worry because I knew that was going to happen when he came on, but it is something, I don't love it as a Foden owner that this is going to happen when De Bruyne plays. But it's possible, I don't see De Bruyne playing 90 minutes in practically any game. Now, that's not saying I don't think he's going to start. He might start, but I don't think he'll play 90 minutes, which means Foden's going to get at least some time in that role in almost every game at the moment. So there's two ways of looking at that.
Yeah, I certainly agree with what Alex is saying. He might be concerned over Foden's minutes, but that's the thing about FPL or Man City FPL assets. You just have to time it right. And right now, for the next foreseeable few game weeks, it's going to be okay, I feel. Like, maybe he might get the occasion one benching, but I don't see more than that, right? So, and we're quick to forget, but Pep is not quick to, maybe Pep is, but in general, FPL or Premier League managers aren't quick to forget. And Foden's in the form of his life, right? It just happened to be KDB's day on the weekend. So
yeah, Foden was really good in that game as well. It's not like
at least two.
Yeah, it's not like Foden was suddenly poor in that game. Yeah, if Kevin, chat spot saying if Kevin was going to start, it would be versus Burnley. But again, there's two ways of looking at that. You can say, oh well, given Burnley where he's just able to pick passes, but then you can also say, well, why would Man City take a risk on De Bruyne starting a game if it's a game that they feel like they could naturally win without him? So there are two ways that you can frame that, and one of them will be right because he'll either start or he won't. But yeah, the other one is Haaland. As IBK says in the chat, if Haaland isn't in the squad for the Spurs game, then then he's just going to be a doubt going into Burnley. The Brentford game in game week 23 is a Monday game, so we won't know for certain if he's going to be available for that. So, how do you feel on Haaland? Presumably, you have a plan in your mind of how you'd get him back if you had to, but
we'll be quick to rush him in, but maybe we can wait one game to watch and then decide, just because he might be minutes restricted.
But if that game's Burnley at home, like let's say he says, he should be back for Burnley at home, that's a difficult fixture just to go, I'm just going to wait and see. Because the other thing is,
it is,
if Haaland's going to start, it's bad for Alvarez in theory. So us Alvarez owners have that other, it's not like, I can just wait and see, but it also makes a player that I do own a worse option. So, yeah, I'm kind of hoping we just know one way or the other, but I'm not sure we will.
Yeah, that stretch, right? Burnley, Brentford, Everton, all good fixtures for City.
Reedy's just asking, why was Toney not in the squad? So, in theory, his ban was still in place and yesterday. He's now unbanned. I know mentally, and I had this for a moment, mentally he was unbanned from the game week 21 deadline because people were buying him in FPL, but his ban expired mid-game week, but the Nottingham Forest Brentford game was after because it's next weekend. So his ban actually expired this morning, and he tweeted some gif this morning of him celebrating the ban being lifted. But yeah, that's why he didn't play last night. And that game, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but that game had quite a lot of implications for FPL because Brentford now double in 25 and are guaranteed already to play in both the blank game weeks. So they play in game week 26 and they play in game week 29 as well after a double in game week 25. So it does make Toney a very interesting option.
But it's Toney versus Watkins, right?
I
mean, not really.
I mean, maybe. It might be Solanke, though. I know that's an upgrade versus a downgrade, so it would have to rely on something else happening. But, yeah. Because the other thing is...
Is there a big... Is there a big price difference between the two?
So, Solanke's 6'9", Toney's 7'9", and Watkins, in theory, is 8'9", but a lot of us had him cheaper than that. So, he's 8'4" for me.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, the cup results might decide it for us because... like game week 29, Aston Villa play West Ham away. So like the big blank, West Ham went out last night and Watkins and Villa are away at Chelsea in the cup. So if Watkins gets knocked out and they're guaranteed to play in game week 29, in game week 26, he also has Forest at home. He has Luton away in game week 27. Like you're not going to sell Watkins.
Yeah.
And I was saying this on the... sorry, I need a drink or something. We're saying this on the above average pod. What happens in the Chelsea-Villa game is quite important because either Watkins will be guaranteed to play in game week 29 or Saka will. Because that Chelsea-Arsenal game is the game in game week 29. So if Chelsea win and Saka's likely to blank in game week 29... then people might sell Saka. But if Watkins win and Watkins is likely to blank in 29, then people might sell Watkins instead of selling Saka. So that Chelsea-Villa fixture has quite a lot of implications for the future. But that game week 29 puzzle is slowly starting to become a little bit clearer.
Yeah, they play Nottingham Forest. Could see a couple Toney goals there.
Yeah, this weekend. If he does well this weekend, we're going to be going straight back in there. Like, I don't think you necessarily need it. Like, game week 22 is away at Spurs. Game week 23 is home to City. And we'll have other things to do with our teams, like Haaland, for example. But after that, game week 24, Wolves. Game week 25, double, which is Liverpool, Man City. Like, don't get me wrong. But it is a double. Then West Ham, Chelsea, Arsenal, Burnley. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But I love fixtures. I love players who help me carry through doubles and blanks. And I love players who have more fixtures.
Because there's so much chaos.
Yeah. And Toney feels... if Toney looked good over the next 3 games, I think he's just an easy route to help you with the fixture schedule.
Yeah, agree.
But Brentford are poor, as Freddie said. They've been, not great. But by then, Umbermo will likely... I don't think he's that far away anymore. I don't know what his injury was like, but I think he'll be almost back. Oh, no, he's expected back... when is that? Okay, no, not until later. Fine. But, Visa will be back from the African Cup of Nations, so... yeah, let's see.
And Boom was gone for a while, huh?
Yeah.
12 weeks, 3 months. Yeah.
It's longer than I thought it was.
Yeah.
But if anyone's going to score for
which is why Saka is not going anywhere for me, Just going to continue to play till 29. I think we were honing in this idea last week.
But if you look at your team, for example, and if let's say you wanted to buy, if I get I'll get next week's teams up on screen. And if you wanted to get Haaland back in next, like let's say Haaland's back in 22, and Trent and Salah are both expected back soon. Like how do you plan on getting him without selling Saka or Watkins?
Okay, so Alvarez would be Haaland.
Yeah. And you'll need you presumably need like 6 million more to do that, or like 5 million at least. And he's suddenly realizing he's going to have to sell Saka.
Oh, this is good. I haven't done the exercise, so it's good.
Because for me, like if I do Alvarez or Solanke up to Haaland, I have to either sell Saka or Watkins. Like I have to. It's just I don't have the money in my team unless I sell Trent or Salah. Like one of those two has to go. I
Yeah,
literally don't think it's possible.
probably it isn't Trent. Double.
Yep. It's not Salah
Plus, you
either.
need a defender. So what? So I would first create some funds from the Arsenal defender, which probably makes no difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might be Saka.
Which is
Might be Saka.
why it might depend on what happens in
Very good point. Yeah.
this Aston Villa Chelsea game, because whoever plays in 29, I know it's far away, but it might make your life a little bit easier about which of them you want to keep and which of them you want to sell. But the short term fixtures for Villa are much better than they are are better than they are for Arsenal. But you can get Saka back in. Yeah, true.
In the span of 22 to 28,
Villa's fixtures are really nice.
Fixtures are very nice for Villa. Not bad for Arsenal. Not too bad.
No.
That is a very good point, Harry.
Yeah, Garnacho's really interesting, as Sokan has said in the chat. I know he's playing for Arsenal, but playing for United, who are mixed at the moment, but their fixtures are really nice, and they have Fulham at home in 26, and I mean United are still in the cup, so they might blank in 29. But if they don't, they have Sheffield United at home that week as well. So a lot of people are looking at Saka to Garnacho as a money freer up to get Haaland back if needs be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and some people brought him in already. Freddie makes a good point. Are you dead endings to 29? I think wildcard window would be 30 to 33, as we mentioned last week.
Correct.
But again, this is from above average Baker, but 30, 31, 32 are in the span of basically 1 week. So it's like really bunched up.
Yeah.
And game week 30 fixtures aren't great, but game week 31 fixtures are really good. So it'll be very interesting when people decide to wildcard. I think more people will decide to work wildcard in 31 or 32 rather than 30 because of how scrunched up it is. Yeah. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but there's no definite that 30 is the best time to wildcard. Hence, maybe dead ending into 29 isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done the exercise between now till 32, right? So
yeah. The other thing to mention is 30. Arsenal play Man City. Oh, my camera's... It did this on the... Oh, not again.
Oh, you're frozen.
Yeah, it did this on the pod yesterday, and I thought I turned it off. I am still here, but I just have to turn my camera off briefly, and then I'll turn it back on again. But I am still here.
Why does it stop? Isn't it supposed to be a thumbs up?
Yes. So there's the new update on Mac where if you do, it has like live reactions on, and if you do like a thumbs up or thumbs down, if for some reason it freezes my camera whilst also doing the emoji.
Nice. It's a good pose though. Looks like you're thinking about your FPL team.
Looks like I'm thinking, doesn't it? Right, let me turn that off and then. Anyway, so what I was getting up is game week 30 is Arsenal Man City. So you might want to wildcard after that game because oh, here we go. Now I'm on my phone. Sorry. Yeah, you might want to wildcard.
Describe how Harry looks, guys.
You might want to wildcard after that game. Oh, now it's gone completely.
Oh, there's a thumbs down button that comes out, huh? I didn't see that because on the Zoom it doesn't show it.
Oh, does it not? Oh, it just freezes. Yeah. On the on the real one, it has the thumbs down. So this is great. Let me leave that there for a moment while I try and fix it. But at least we got a camera now. Cool. Where were we? Any other questions? Yeah. So Alfie Doughty's been mentioned in the chat. I like
Okay.
him as a bit of a differential, and he's very
Hmm.
attacking. The only issue with that is he is likely to blank in 26.
Hmm.
He is likely to blank in 26. But what do you think about? Have you thought about him?
Yeah, I mean, potentially as a downgrade from my second Arsenal defender,
Yeah,
but it's not like he's super, super cheap, right? He's still 4.5,
yeah,
you know, still got Brighton and Newcastle. I guess you just need him for 24, 25
yeah.
double, and then you can kind of get away with it with him and
Hmm.
Taylor on the bench. Hopefully, they do play Forest in 29,
Yeah.
and then just wild card him out. So I think this is where you do sort of does he rotate well with my other defenders type of situation.
Mm.
But yeah, not a bad shout at all. Yeah,
Yeah, I
you always
suppose.
want to. Go
No,
ahead.
you go. You go.
I feel like for these doubles, we've always like tried to identify sort of a sneaker pick, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Like Tarkovsky a couple seasons ago,
Yeah.
and sometimes it works out like John Stones, right? So
Hmm.
who knows? Mm.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that that game week 26 blank is not confirmed, but it is
Hmm.
worth thinking about how many blank players you're likely to have in that week. Because if
Hmm.
Chelsea get to the cup final as well, it includes Spurs. So if you've got Porro, if you've got Richarlison, it then becomes like quite a significant issue on top of the likes of Salah, Trent as well. If you've got Cole Palmer in there as well, of course, he's likely to blank that week. So
Yeah. Manon says Harry looks 13 and 30 at the same time. I disagree, my friend. I think you look exactly your age or
let me see.
younger.
I managed to fix it the other day, but it doesn't seem to be fixing itself. It just goes blank. Don't know what's happening.
I think it's
Don't.
fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, get the questions coming away. I mean, for those joining, we are just doing burning questions after hours where we're just chatting, talking about life and
Mm.
trying to come up with solutions that don't involve the words wait till next week.
Interesting comment about Crystal Palace. So Crystal Palace have had an awful run and they've been on awful form as well. But game week 22, they now have Sheffield United at home. Game week 26, they play Burnley at home as well. So Eze, I know Elise looks like he's not going to be available quite yet, but Eze could be an interesting differential. Their fixtures are very nice coming up now. And
Hmm.
when they're all fit, they do look like a very good team.
Mm. Very, very good fixtures, actually.
Mm. Yeah.
Unfortunate their 29 is not that great, but
Yeah. If they had a
at
fixture that
least
was likely to go ahead in 29, because Newcastle, they got Fulham in the cup. But
hmm you never know.
and Crystal Palace got Everton. So, but if, let's say, we get to the game week 22 deadline and Newcastle and Palace both lose their cup games, then suddenly Eze looks like quite a nice option as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about Richarlison. Oh, we totally forgot.
Yeah.
Well, what was your feel about that game?
My feel about that game was that I made a mistake on Richarlison. Um,
Wow.
but like
Like going for
my
Foden
hope,
instead of him.
not so much going for Foden instead of him, but I think I
Hmm.
I tried to convince myself that there were enough issues with Richarlison because of the blank in 26 if it happens, that I didn't need to rush to get him for Manchester United away.
Hmm.
But he just looked so involved again. Spurs looked good
Yeah.
going forward again. But I just don't see myself buying him still.
Yeah.
I still
Yeah.
don't see myself
What,
doing
what
it.
I mean, what if it ends up that he doesn't blank in 26?
Then I'll probably buy him.
Wow. Hmm.
Just, yeah, I just don't see myself necessarily going back to Son, and having Richarlison feels like
Up
a
top.
easier way to do it, because like as you were saying, like as much as I'd love Son, but when we're trying to do those transfer plans to own Salah,
Hmm.
Salah, Haaland, Foden, Trent, or De Bruyne, having Son is also then like just not a possibility at all. So
money wise.
yeah.
It's the Trent. Now the Trent has replaced Son.
Mm. And because if Trent gets that double, then again you just want you just can't sell Trent before a double. So
Yeah. So you ever, last week what I was trying to say was that where you started laughing when I talked about Werner. The point I was trying to make was that he's playing up top,
yeah,
but it was going to be him and Werner for that spot when Son returns, when Madison returns, when Sarr returns, when
yeah,
Bissouma returns, because they can either play four up top, where it be ideally Son, Kulu, Richarlison, and Johnson,
yeah.
with two in the mid. But for example, if Madison comes back, I don't know if they're going to play four up top. They might revert back to the three. Regardless, right? It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
Werner in for Richarlison most likely. If like for example, Werner was playing really, really well, but I will say that was a mistake call in the sense that he's really finding groove as that center forward with Charleston, and I say it very hard for Ainge to take him off.
Yeah.
But Werner doesn't operate well on the left, and you saw it this game. The chemistry with him, Udogi, and Skip is not there. And Johnson is a nightmare on the right. Like his crossing is so bad, Harry. Like as good as what's his name? Horo is. Johnson does everything but can't cross. And Wan-Bissaka absolutely shut him down this game. So maybe you might see Werner move out to the right here and there too. So I think you're right. Richarlison is quite locked for the foreseeable future, and I don't see Son moving back to the center. And when he comes back, he's going to play on the left. So
But Richarlison's
yeah,
locked for minutes for start, but I also feel like he's almost guaranteed a 70-minute sub in every game. Like
yeah,
Son up
because,
front and Werner on is like it will happen even more than it did before.
yeah, exactly. Again, Kulu's gonna didn't play it last game, so he's
Yeah.
got to get. Lo Celso didn't play, and Madison didn't play. So there's a lot of players coming back very soon. So the minutes risk is there. If he blanks in 26, that's another issue. So if you have him, you're in a great position, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And the later you wait, the sketchier this transfer gets. And I would love to have Richarlison in my team, right? It's just for the reasons we mentioned, it's tough to bring him in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also for who, right? Like we would have to sell,
Gordon,
which I'm not going to. Like
with their
he
fixtures, it's
matched
very
Richarlison.
hard to sell Gordon when they've got Luton. Like Villa away is not great, but then Luton, Forest, Bournemouth, like Wolves. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to sell him.
What about Poro? Like season keeper?
Probably, unless I start needing fixtures.
Uh-huh.
Like in 26, I look at my team and I'm like, well, I want to bench Salah, Trent, and then I've got Palmer and Porro. So unless I sell one of those two, I'm playing with 10 men that week, and I have no idea which of those four I'd sell.
Yeah.
I'd probably just play with 10, but then Porro does go into, I mean, it's Palace at home, Villa away, and then maybe a blank in 29. But the chances of him blanking in 29, given that Spurs play City in the Cup and Fulham play Newcastle in the Cup, means that he might play in 29, and then I just can't sell him. So maybe it's Palmer, but I don't really want to do that either.
He's a peculiar case, right? Like we're relying on attacking returns, which sounds great, but he's still a defender, right? Like classified as a defender. So you want these clean sheets as a safety net,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like they're just so attacking that
Yeah.
it
They
doesn't
don't
give me
look like they'll
confidence
ever.
that they get clean
I'm not sure
sheets.
they'll. Yeah, I don't know the next time I'll ever see a clean sheet from him. It feels like it's a long
Yeah.
time away. But I'm quite like he was so good in that game, so involved. So
He was.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you see his crossing? I mean, I was just talking badly about Johnson's crossing. I'm sure it'll get better in due time, but
Porro was so
every
good.
set piece, every set piece, like every corner was like the speed and the accuracy
Yeah.
it's just like, oh man, like I wish I owned, you know, Richarlison or even Romero just
Yeah.
because of the delivery,
Hmm.
so good.
Yeah. No, I think it was highlighted. There were so many Spurs corners in that game, which highlighted how involved Porro normally is, and it felt even
Hmm.
more because there were so many corners. So I was always thinking, oh, there's a route to points there. Oh, we could get a return here. But yeah, he
Yeah,
was very good. So I have no plan on selling him, but blanks and doubles do strange things to us. We end up selling
yeah,
players
yeah.
who maybe we wouldn't naturally sell, buy players we wouldn't naturally buy. So yeah, just like 4.4 Sergi Regulon. You wait. Spurs to he's off to Brentford.
Is he really?
Yeah, apparently.
Wow.
The perfect to
From
fill in
Spurs
that
to United to Brentford. Very
just
nice.
perfect to fill in that Rico Henry
The GOAT.
slot, and of course they double in 25, play in 26, and play in 29 as well. So the perfect cheap defender if we could ever have asked for one.
Who's your favorite player of all time, Harry?
Oh
Fun
wow.
question.
Uh, Cole Palmer? No, probably not.
Must be a
Probably Eden Hazard
uh-huh. Nice.
as a Chelsea fan. Yeah, yeah. I would probably say someone
Uh-huh.
like Drogba, but I was still quite young, and I hadn't
Were
found
you
my
were you old enough to watch the
Champions League final.
Chelsea
Yes.
United final?
Oh,
Okay. How old were you then?
Chelsea United final.
Yeah.
I was like 8, so not really.
Okay. Okay.
I do
Okay.
remember
That was one of my go ahead.
I remember the Chelsea Bayern Munich final where Drogba scored, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
but probably
I think
Hazard.
that was the first time I despised the Chelsea team because Jisung Park was playing for United.
Hmm.
So I was like a sort of a semi-United fan back then. But
God, you just
yeah, the golden era. Yeah.
that Chelsea
Yeah.
team that didn't they conceded 15 goals in a season? It's crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
Amazing team.
Yeah,
Amazing team.
yeah, yeah.
Drogba was one of my favorites.
I have recollections of that team, but I didn't find my love of football so that early in my life.
Nice. I think the very first like Champions League memories I have is PSV Eindhoven's run in 2004. I know it's really random. And then the AC Milan Liverpool final where it went all the way to PKs.
Yeah.
I can't remember what year that was, but yeah, that's when I was like, wow, the Champions League is something else.
Right. This is definition of rambling on a podcast. We'll take one final question and yeah, we will then wrap it up. The final one is we're talking about Man City. If the whole Man City team is fit and available for game week 25, what 3 would you own on a free hit? So if you could fit them in.
Oh, that's easy.
Haaland, De Bruyne.
Haaland, De Bruyne.
Who's the third?
Oh,
Foden. The
defender
double's not
or attacker.
the double's not great defensively. Like Chelsea
right?
at home and Chelsea and Brentford.
Yeah.
I'd rather probably Foden.
Probably Foden. Probably sensible is Foden. But if it wasn't Foden, who would if Foden was excluded?
Probably Walker or Bernardo.
I see. Yeah.
Probably Walker or Bernardo. But
That's about it.
the only thing with Walker is he was very good at getting very far forward down that right hand side, but that's the space De Bruyne loves.
The half space.
The half space on that right hand side, De Bruyne loves it. And as soon as De Bruyne back, I worry that we're not going to see Walker, and he's going to go back to just sitting at right back again.
Like if you look up the right half space in the dictionary, there's a picture of KDB.
He loves it.
Like
he absolutely loves it.
That's his thing. You know, that's everybody's studying how KDB does it, right? Just perfect there.
Yeah. Cool. We'll be back.
Awesome.
next week with a proper pod. Once we've had the game week over, we start, having one of the Carabao Cup games will have taken place by the time we pod, and we'll be a week away from game week 22. Thank you all for joining. I know it's a little bit of a misshapen pod, but just to cover a little bit of desire to talk about FPL in a week where there's not much to talk about. So, Andy, thank you. Have a lovely rest of your week, and hope Saka brings in a nice captaincy return for us.
Thanks, guys, and apologies for the rambling. We just thought we'd have a little bit of fun, and I don't know what I said this pod, but we'll be back with more graphs and more discussion next week. I think next week's going to be another sort of monster pod. So
yeah,
we'll see you guys then.
Thanks, everyone.